Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Friends, today we are going to start a new and very interesting topic of social stratification. I would say that this is a central topic of sociology, soul of sociology. And perhaps if there were no social stratification, there would be no sociology. All sociologies are about social stratification. So first we will see what social stratification is. Then we will go into 2 or 3 major theories of social stratification. We can also spend some time on the nature of stratification in Indian society and exploring the question whether it is possible to have a society of equals, and how do sociologists or theoreticians or politicians envisage to create a society of equals. Social stratification is part of the general problem of inequality, but is not the inequality as a whole. Our everyday experience shows that men are unequal and different. Men, that means women also, men, women are unequal and different. There are so many bases of defining differences and inequality. Some are short, some are tall, some are white, some are black, different colors, different races, different features in the same country. In India, almost all features of humans are found. You have trace of African race, Aryan race, and in the northeast, our people look more like Chinese, Mongolian. There are differences in color, features. So many differences. Differences in nose, eyes, complexion, ears, hair. There are differences in hair. There are differences in muscular strength between men and women and between different men. There are age differences. Children, adults, old. Some are educated, some are uneducated. Some are rich, some are poor. Some are more influential, some are less influential. And people differ in terms of political ideologies, religion, beliefs. So many things. But all differences, there are natural differences. Broadly, some differences can be called natural and some can be called social. Although in the final analysis you will see that there is no natural factor which is uninfluenced by social factors. So what we have in reality is the outcome of hereditary or biological factors and environmental factors. Yet, for the purpose of communication, simplicity, for ease in conceptualizing various types of differences and inequalities, it's common to divide all kinds of inequalities and differences into natural and social. Somebody can say that sex differences are natural, differences in height, weight, color, complexions are natural, and differences in education, income, social status, religious beliefs, and political commitments are social, natural and social. Now, in society, another thing that we see is that these natural and social differences are not seen merely as differences. They are also arranged in terms of high and low. Ultimately, all differences lead to some kind of hierarchy. Some people are seen to be in possession of desired traits, good things, in terms of beauty, wealth, power, prestige, and others are seen to be low on indicators of these types. So high and low. That means there is inequality. Among people in all society, there is inequality. Inequality is a more general term. And there is natural inequality, there is social inequality. One of our leading sociologists from India, Andre Bete, said that even natural inequalities are ultimately social. How? The differences in age are natural. But if a society accords more importance to older generation, to parents, grandparents, and if according to norms of society, younger people must necessarily obey, show allegiance, respect, regard towards the older generation, this is a social fact. So although the difference in age is natural, the inequality rooted in age is social. Nobody says that younger generation should pay respect to. There is no natural reason. It will be difficult for us to argue that there is a natural reason for younger generation to pay allegiance to older generation. We can have society in which all are equal, or middle classes in terms of age, middle age groups, adults have more prestige. If you look at societies around you and compare what has happened to status of old people in different societies, you find that there are tremendous variations. One day I was telling you that anthropologists have found that in some tribal societies in the past, if there was a shortage of food during famines, droughts, or when the nomads, the group decided to move to some other place in search of food, they often left their old people behind. And in several cases, old people were expected to commit suicide, because old people were seen as burden. In Indian society, for much of the historical period we know of, old people have always been given more respect. The term Vridh or old person is not to be despised. Old people have respect. If you are a Vridh, other factors remaining same, our traditional religious and mythological literature shows that Vridh people, old people, invite some respect. And in case of controversies, younger people and adults must respect and follow what the old people say. Similarly, the difference of age, it's natural. Some are men, some are women. It's not by volition. We did not will, when we were in mother's womb, we did not will whether we would like to be male or female. It's natural. But this natural thing, sex, although it should lead to difference, age and sex should lead to difference, but there is no reason they should also lead to inequality. The empirical facts show that they also lead to inequality. So there is sex inequality. In all society there is sex inequality. And in all these lectures in sociology, there has not been any lecture, any day, when we did not talk about some kind of sex inequality. All societies have inequality with respect to sex. So you have matriarchal society, women more powerful than men. You have patriarchal society, men more powerful than women. And if you look at data on work participation rate, participation of men in economic activities is much higher than participation of women in economic activities, and that also creates inequality in power, prestige. In family also, there are differences of entitlements. If there is limited amount of food, that will first be given to adult male these days, and in the last to younger females. That has been the case. Now, to some extent, situation in urban middle class is changing, but the vestiges of past remain for long period. And this was the case, that there was inequality with respect to sex. Nobody can claim that today there is any society anywhere, in any part of, in any continent, in Latin America, in North America, in Western Europe, in Southern Europe, in Asia, Africa, anywhere, where men and women are equal. Everywhere men and women are equal. I remember somewhere I read a theory that there is a relationship between development and inequality. Initially, as development takes place, the status of women this is just one theory, and I'm not saying that all sociologists will agree with this theory. Initially, with socio-economic development, status of women falls. And with more and more development of society, in post-developed or post-modern or post-industrial society, the status of women will rise. You know, in primitive matriarchy, though this is controversial, many people believe that in primitive society also there was patriarchy and there were traces of nuclear family, but the general understanding is that for a long time in the past, women were more powerful. The status of women was good. And with emergence of feudal society, feudal. In feudal society, there is a downfall of status of women. In agricultural societies, there is at least in the context of Europe, in medieval Europe, in a state, in feudal society, status of women declined. Maybe status of women declined further a little bit in early phases of industrialization. Emergence of private property, according to Marx, was the major reason behind fall of status of women in feudal society. And this also aggravated inequalities in the early phases of industrialization, which presented a man-centric model of economic development. In agriculture, at least, there was some space for women. In agriculture itself and in allied activities and in processing of agricultural things within households, there was some place for women. But in early industrial society, when women become housewives and are separated from the labor market, there is a further reduction in the status of women. But as time passes, with more industrialization, more economic development, for several reasons, one, that now the nature of work is such that anybody can do it. Work in post-industrial society, in the service sector increasingly. Industry means manufacturing plants. Now, in service sector in post-industrial society, the work is such that anybody can do. In the service sector, you do not require muscular strength in particular. There is not much importance of muscular strength. There is more importance of brain power. And since there is no difference in brain of men and women, again, the position of women improves. So in education, in the insurance sector, in the banking sector, in computer-aided engineering of various types, certainly in software, but not in software alone, in any kind of engineering, computer-aided mechanical engineering, computer-aided chemical engineering, wherever computers have come. In culture, in politics, women can participate equally, and therefore the status of women improves. Now today I do not want to talk much about the status of women. I was only trying to show the position of an eminent Indian sociologist, Andre Bethe, that there are inequalities in society. The basis of inequality are several. Some of them are considered to be natural and some are considered to be social. But in the final analysis, even even natural inequalities or inequalities based on natural factors such as age, sex, color, complexion, racial characteristics are social. Because society selects which natural factor or which category of natural factors, color or sex or age, should be accorded a higher status and which other category should be accorded a lower status. When we find that in American society, whites are seen to be high and blacks or American Africans are seen to be low, there is no biological reason to say that whites are superior to blacks. It's social. There is no biological reason to treat blacks to be inferior to whites. But whites are supposed to be high on intelligence, on aesthetics, on various types of abilities, and in education achieved. Education is the key to inequality in our times. Similarly, whether taller people should be given more importance than shorter people depends. It's social. Whether tallness is superior to shortness, that is social. There are many things which tall people can do better. There are many things which short people can do better. And there may be no differences in brain power, in physical strength when it comes to performance of concrete activities. Even in games and sports, many times shorter people have done wonders. But in society may give more importance to some people and less to others. So there are inequalities. There are differences, and society makes differences unequal. Inequality is so universal that at least not today you can identify any society in which everybody is equal. And interestingly, people not only differ in terms of certain biological and social traits, they are seen to be unequal, high and low, superior, inferior, superordinate, subordinates, dominant, dominated, exploiters, exploited, those who discriminate against others and those who are discriminated against. There are differences. However, in a study of social stratification, we are more concerned, more worried about one particular type of social inequality. Social stratification is that. Social stratification is a type of social inequality. Marked by those social inequalities which satisfy these criteria are seen as representing social stratification. It does not mean that other elements of differences or inequality are not invidious or unfair or unjust. But there are certain things. One, that in society exist certain stable social groups. There must be some social groups. That means family not the basis of social stratification. Within family there are differences of age, gender, education, wealth, income, political power. But in a study of social stratification, we will ignore differences within family. We are more concerned with differences between social groups. And social groups which become the basis of social stratification are such that they are relatively stable. When I discuss group, using Gisbert's definition, I explained that you can think of groups according to degree of organization or interaction, first degree to fourth degree. Social groups, some social groups are very temporary phenomena. cultural associations, photography clubs, even political parties. They are not so stable groups. You can join one political party today and leave it tomorrow. They are not so stable. But there are some stable social groups. For example, caste. Caste as a social group has been present in society for thousands of years. It's a stable group. Similarly, economic class. Economic class is also more stable, not as stable as caste, but this is also quite stable. In societies where race is a basis of social stratification, racial groups are the groups which survive for indefinitely long time. Now there is a mixture of race, and there is also a debate on, in United States, there has to be an interesting debate on if you have some policies for the benefit of blacks, then defining black becomes a problem. In our country, there are many rural development programs meant only for those living below the poverty line. And defining poverty line becomes a problem in India. Last year, there was a lot of controversy regarding how should poverty line be defined. Now, in United States, if there are some programs and policies for the upliftment of blacks, you have to define what is black. Because there are a lot of people in United States today who are neither pure black or pure white. Pure black will mean that for hundreds of generations they have been blacks. Or pure white will mean that for hundreds of generations they have been pure white. Now there is a mixture. So they have to define that to be part of the category of blacks, for how many generations from father's side and mother's side one has to be black or white. It's a difficult technical issue and a debatable issue. This will always be debatable because there will be some, for every definition there will be some beneficiaries and some deprived of the benefit. It's a definitional issue. But as compared to many other groups which are of transient nature, racial groups are more stable. So there are stable groups. Second, they can be ranked. These stable groups can be ranked high, low in terms of wealth, power, and prestige. If there are stable groups which are not ranked in terms of wealth, power, and prestige, then they do not constitute social stratification. Those stable social groups will provide a framework of social stratification which can be ranked in terms of wealth, power, and prestige. Hierarchy, rank or hierarchy is central to the definition of social stratification. Another property that the members of these groups must identify with these groups, with one of these groups. If the groups are such that they are only nominal, statistical, empirical, and the members of the group do not identify closely with these groups, then also there is no social stratification. If whites do not consider themselves to be white and blacks do not consider them to be blacks, and their identity of white and black does not affect their behavior, then there is no social stratification on the basis of race. But when the people belonging to these stable groups, which can be ranked in terms of wealth, power and prestige, and they also have identity, then you have social stratification. Then another, though a smaller condition, would be that affects this stratification or division of people into stable groups, which can be ranked hierarchically as high or low in terms of wealth, power and prestige, affects their life chances or opportunities. Life chances or opportunities. If you belong to a high class, your opportunity to get education, higher education, primary, secondary, higher, all education will be higher. If you belong to a low socioeconomic group or class, your opportunity is less. If you come from the highest wealth quantile, your life expectancy is going to be higher. If you come from the lowest quantile, your life expectancy is lower. If you come from politically powerful class, your chance of becoming unemployed for certain duration in your life is less. If you come from vulnerable sections of society, the downtrodden, the lower classes, illiterate, uneducated, poor, rural, low caste, your chance of remaining unemployed for a certain period of time in your youth is higher. So stratification affects life chances. This is what social stratification is. Basically, these two bullets, all types of inequalities do not constitute social stratification. I have made 2-3 points today. One, that all societies have inequality. There is no society in which there is no difference between man and man, or one member of society and another member. There is no society. Now, some of these differences are natural, some are social. But ultimately, if there is social inequality, then even natural are defined in social terms. Only those natural characteristics lead to social stratification which have been selected by society for this purpose and which become a social basis of inequality. All types of inequalities do not lead to social stratification. You can have a society where you have inequality but no social stratification. That will be a kind of society in which some people are rich, some are poor, no problem. Some are white, some are black, some are high caste, some are low caste. But the system is so open that life chances of all members of society are very similar, same. It does not matter whether you are white or black. For children, it does not matter whether they come from educated parents or uneducated parents. If it does not matter for children whether they come from urban areas or rural areas, then there may be urban-rural differences. There may be rich and poor, and there may be high caste and low caste. But there is no social stratification. Social stratification arises when there are stable social groups in society, and their stable social groups means that there is some kind of closeness, close. Certain social groups are closed. You cannot acquire membership of these groups. And in sociology, we use a term ascribed. At the time of birth, certain characteristics, certain of your subsequent social statuses are determined by the fact that you are born in a particular family, in a particular socio-economic condition. They are ascribed. Caste is ascribed. You are born in a particular caste and you remain in that caste lifelong. You can change your religion, you can move from rural to urban areas, you can acquire education, you can become Prime Minister and President of India, but your caste will not change. That shows the closed nature of certain groups. So there may be social inequality. Actually, on one extreme, United States of today, a market economy, is often mentioned as an example of an open class system. United States is open. Open means that the degree of mobility between different social groups is very high. A child of a carpenter can become a professor, and a child of a professor can become a carpenter. If there are equal chances of both, then you have an open system. But if you have a society in which children of social group S1 will become S1 only, and children of social group S2 will become S2. A few may move to other groups, but most of them will remain in the same group. Then you have a closed system. In practice, no society can have 100% closed group or 100% open group, but the degree of openness varies from one type of social stratification to another. Social stratification may take different forms in different societies in terms of how many groups are there. There are stable social groups, but how many? 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 10. If you say capitalists and proletariats, it's a two-class model. That is, society, a capitalist society consists of basically two classes, capitalists and proletariat. In a Varna model of India, there are 5 stable social groups: Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and Antyaj outside the Varna system. 5 groups. In the theory of capitalism, you have 2 groups. In the theory of Varnas, you have 5 groups. In the racial theory, you have 2 groups basically, whites and blacks. And in sociological theory of industrial society and post-industrial society, you can make several groups. You can say 3 groups: upper class, middle class, lower class, on the basis of credentials, occupations, management position. Or you can say 6 classes: upper, lower, upper middle, upper low, or upper lower, and lower. 6 classes. Then it becomes an empirical question. In those African countries where 3 or 4 major tribes live, and the society is seen to be stratified according to tribal status, there are these 3 or 4 groups. In several parts of, say, Northeast, where you do not have caste, you do not have racial differences, you do not have color differences, all are blacks, or in a given region all are mangolite type or yellowish. If there are 2 tribes, say Nagas and Kukis, and Nagas and Kukis form two stable groups in social stratification of that region. Then there are two classes. So it depends. Number of groups may be different. Degree of openness and closeness may be different. The basis of formation of stable social groups may be different. In some cases, it may be physical strength, some cases honesty. Like in traditional Indian society, the basis of prestige or stratification could be your ability to make fair judgment. In say context of Gram Panchayat or Caste Panchayat, how fair and honest you are. Your ability to express your ideas clearly can be a basis of stratification, high and low. Or it may be income, it may be size of land, it may be closeness to seat of power, it may be education, it may be skill, it may be some charisma of your own, it may be legal. So the basis of stratification or formation of stable groups which are ranked hierarchically can be any. Physical, religious, spiritual, economic, educational or credential, or legal. By law, what does the law suggest? Feudal power was sanctioned by law, and pre-feudal power was quite often sanctioned by religion. And today we have a class system on the basis of ownership of means of production. We can still have a social stratification where all regions behind social stratification, religious as a primitive society or relatively more advanced society, legal as of agricultural and feudal society, ownership of means of production as in capitalist society have been removed. So in China you do not have social stratification on the basis of religion or law or economic class. Means of production have been collectivized, so the issue of economic class does not arise. But still, there is stratification, there is patriarchy, there are differences in wealth, education, political power. Some people can more easily get certificate or permission or approval to migrate from their village to the capital city as compared to others. And your position to manipulate situation in society also differs. And there are so many bases of forming stable social groups. So the nature of stratification may be different, number of groups may be different, relationships between these groups may be different, the degree to which members of groups identify with these groups may be different, and to what extent these stable groups affect the life chances, that may also differ. Sometimes this may have no effect on many aspects of this. When fertility was high, then everyone, whether coming from landed aristocracy or from a poor family, everyone had high fertility. Everybody had 10 or 11 children. And when fertility has declined to below replacement level, then again there are no differences. Nobility or feudal lords or landed aristocracy has 2 children, and poor people also have 2 children. In a society in which infant mortality has declined, there may be no differences in infant mortality according to class. If life expectancy has gone above say 70 or 70, it has reached a level of 75 or 80, the differences in life expectancy according to social groups have declined. So to what extent stable groups arrange hierarchically and producing some kind of consciousness of being part of those groups affect life chance may differ from society to society and from one stage of development to another. But stratification is a fact of all societies. So sociologists have tried to explain this why stratification, and in this respect I will just indicate, we will discuss this more in the next lecture. I will just indicate the basic tenets of one of the theories of social stratification, which knowingly or unknowingly all of us employ in reflecting on and in justifying social stratification. And this theory is given by Kingsley Davis in his book Human Society, and in a few papers published in some leading sociological journals in 40s in collaboration with one more sociologist, Wilbert Moore. Kingsley Davis has given this theory. Kingsley Davis says that in a society there are so many roles: R1, R2, R3, R4, Rn, or you can call them status, position. Kingsley Davis says there are positions: P1, P2, Pn. So many positions. And there are also individuals: I1, I2, I3, I4, Im. Now you see, ideally, if these positions or these roles or statuses, this is a set of positions, a set of individuals. If these roles could be allotted completely randomly, I think you understand the term random, completely randomly, by ensuring that probability of role R3 going to I1, I2, I3, I4, Im is same chance of allotment of role R1, R2, R3, Rn to all these individuals, then there will be no stratification. And when will this happen? When the importance of all the roles for society is same. If all the roles are of same importance to society, and all roles require same degree of training and talent, and all roles are equally pleasant to perform, and if all individuals are equally talented, if all people will show the same degree of commitment to performing any role, if all of them have the same training or ability and merit, a more general term would be ability. If there are no differences between roles, and if there are no differences between individuals, then any role can be assigned to anyone. And then there will be no social stratification. If it does not matter, if all 125 crores of Indians, 1.25 billion, are equally talented, equally trained, equally committed, equally capable of doing everything. Role of a rickshaw puller and role of President of India. Role of a teacher, role of a chemistry teacher, role of a mathematics teacher, role of ENT expert, radiologist. Then there will be absolutely no problem in allotment of roles and society will be free from stratification. But we know that roles differ in importance to society. The role of President of India is much more important for Indian society than the role of class 4 in a bank. And because different roles require different amount of training and talent, and because all roles are not equally pleasant to perform, and individuals also differ in talent, commitment, ability, merit, attitudes. You can make a more general matrix of abilities. So what should happen? Then at an abstract level, forget about caste, forget about class, forget about race, forget about gender, forget about wealth or political power or manipulation or fraud or corruption. At an abstract level, all societies will have to find a way of allocating roles to different individuals in such a way that the most important role, functionally most important role in society reaches the most talented person. The more talented persons in society should occupy functionally more important roles, and not only occupy, they must have desire to play those roles more conscientiously, more with greater degree of commitment, dedication, more conscientious. And to ensure that, then society has to give different rewards for different roles, not individuals. Ultimately, these rewards, if there are unequal rewards with roles, then it leads to inequality of class position of individuals. But that is not the goal of role allocation. That is not the goal of social stratification. The role of social stratification. Social stratification, according to Kingsley Davis, at an abstract level, which applies to all societies, is the problem of allocation of roles in such a manner that the functionally most important roles are allotted to most capable persons. And therefore, most capable persons, or in relative sense, more capable persons, should be motivated to take up more difficult roles, functionally more important roles, roles which are not so pleasant to perform, which require dedication, sacrifice. Sometimes sacrifice is required. There may be no such sacrifice in case of doctors and professors, but there may be sacrifice involved in roles of army commanders. Not everyone is willing to sacrifice his life for the nation. So, functionally more important roles must be assigned better rewards. And what can society do? We will discuss this in the next lecture. Society can give more economic rewards. Society can give more aesthetic incentives, humor, diversion, adventure, opportunity to innovate, to be more creative, and self-respect and ego. And the moment society does so, the moment society allocates sustenance, means salary, perks, facilities, comforts, housing, medical, LTC, And society gives more humor and diversion, more initiative, more scope for decision making, creativity, and more prestige and self-respect to some than to others. You have social stratification. Kingsley Davis claims that all societies are stratified because of this basic reason. And we will discuss in more details this theory of social stratification, its criticism, and Marxist theory of stratification in the next class. You will agree with me that such a theory of social stratification can only be a functional theory of stratification. Why is it functional? Because it looks at social stratification from the perspective of larger society. What will help the larger society? It's not concerned about what happens to individuals who are placed in situations or in roles with which very low rewards or negative rewards are associated. This theory is concerned about society, that for society to be more effective, rewards must be given on the basis of merit. And the moment society gives rewards on the basis of merit, knowingly or unknowingly, it produces a stratified society. So thank you. We stop here.